My parents offered to babysit for our anniversary. The call came out of nowhere on a Tuesday evening while I was helping our 6-year-old Emma with her spelling homework. "We've been thinking," Mom said, her voice unusually bright. "You and Jessica deserve a night out. When's your anniversary?" I almost dropped the phone. In 12 years of marriage, my parents had never once offered to babysit. Not when Emma was born. Not when the twins, Luke and Mason, arrived 3 years later. Not for emergencies, date nights, or desperate moments when we just needed an hour of sleep. "It's this Saturday," I said cautiously. "But Mom, you always said watching 3 kids was too much dash." "Nonsense. We're their grandparents. It's about time we stepped up." I found Jessica in the kitchen, making tomorrow's lunch boxes. "You're not going to believe this," I said. "My parents want to babysit for our anniversary." She paused, peanut butter knife in midair. "Your parents?" "The same people who showed up 2 hours late to Emma's birthday because they forgot and missed the twins' kindergarten graduation entirely. Those very ones." Jessica's expression was skeptical. She'd been hurt too many times by my parents' indifference to our kids. While her parents drove 3 hours every month to visit, mine lived 20 minutes away and barely managed holidays. "Maybe they're trying to change," I offered weakly. She sighed. "Maybe. God knows the kids deserve to have all their grandparents involved." Saturday arrived faster than expected. I'd made reservations at the Italian place where we'd had our first date. Jessica wore the blue dress I loved. For the first time in months, we looked like the couple we'd been before mortgage payments and hockey practice consumed our lives. My parents arrived at 6 sharp, another first. Dad carried an overnight bag. Mom had a container of cookies. "Homemade," she announced, though I recognized the grocery store packaging she'd transferred them to. "Kids are so excited," I said, which was partly true. Emma had been thrilled. The twins were more interested in their video games. "Bedtime is 8 for the twins, 8:30 for Emma," Jessica explained. "Emergency numbers are on the fridge. Emma's asthma inhaler is in the medicine cabinet if she needs it, though she hasn't had an attack in months." "We raised 2 kids," Mom said with a tight smile. "We know what we're doing." As we gathered our things, I noticed Dad standing oddly by their overnight bag in the hallway. When I walked past, he shifted to block it. "Everything okay, Dad?" "Fine. Just excited to spend time with the grandkids." But sweat beaded on his forehead despite our cool house. Jessica came down the stairs, adjusting her earring. She saw the bag and smiled. "Oh, you brought overnight things? That's really thoughtful. We won't be too late though, dash." She reached for the bag. Just being helpful, probably planning to move it to the guest room. Dad lunged forward. "No," but Jessica had already unzipped it. Her face went white. Then she screamed, "Get the kids. Call 911. I rushed over and looked inside. My blood turned to ice. Rope. Duct tape. Children's Benadryl, multiple bottles. Adult sedatives with the prescription label torn off. A gun I didn't even know my father owned. And worst of all, 3 small suitcases. Child-sized. Pink for Emma. Blue for the boys. What the hell is this? My voice came out strangled. Mom's face had gone from grandmother's sweet to something cold and calculating. "It's not what it looks like." "Really?" Jessica was already herding the confused kids upstairs. "Because it looks like kidnapping supplies." Dad stepped between us and the stairs. "Just calm down. Let us explain." "Explain?" I pulled out my phone. "Explain to the police." Mom grabbed my wrist. "Don't be stupid, Timothy. You have no idea what's at stake here." I jerked away, dialing 911. "My parents are in my house with weapons and kidnapping supplies. Please send help immediately." "Sir, did you say your parents?" "Yes. They were supposed to babysit, but they have. Just please hurry." Dad made a move toward the stairs. I blocked him, my heart hammering. "Don't even think about it." "You don't understand," he said. "We're trying to save them." "Save them from what?" "From you." Mom spat. "From this life. From her." She pointed upstairs where Jessica was barricading herself and the kids in our bedroom. "You're insane," I said. "Are we?" Mom's eyes were wild now. "You never call. You never visit. You're poisoning them against us. We invited you to every school event, every birthday dash. Pity invites," Dad roared. "While her parents get to be the real grandparents. While you turn our grandchildren into strangers." Sirens wailed in the distance. Mom's face crumpled. "We just wanted time with them. Real time. Without you controlling everything. So you were going to kidnap them?" "We were going to take them on a trip," Dad said desperately. Show them there's a whole world beyond this prison you've built. Then bring them back. With sedatives? With a gun. The medicine was just in case they got upset. The gun, your mother insisted. For protection. Protection from what? From anyone who tried to stop us from being grandparents. Mom shrieked. The police burst through the door, weapons drawn. Everyone hands where we can see them. My parents were ordered to the ground. I watched numb as my father, the man who taught me to ride a bike, was handcuffed on my living room floor. The bag, I told the officers. Check their bag. An officer photographed everything. The children's Benadryl tested positive for a much stronger sedative when they used a field kit. The pills were indeed prescription sedatives, enough to knock out adults, let alone children. Where were you planning to take them? The detective asked during questioning. My parents exchanged glances. Florida, Mom finally said. We have a condo there. We just wanted a week. Maybe 2. Without telling us? I was beyond angry now. You were going to let us think our children were missing? We left a note, Dad said quietly. In the bag. Explaining everything. The detective found it. In my mother's careful script. We're taking what's ours. You've had them long enough. Don't try to find us. We'll return them when they understand who their real family is. Jessica came downstairs once the kids were settled with a movie and snacks, pretending nothing was wrong. She was shaking with rage. How long were you planning this? She asked my parents. Mom lifted her chin defiantly. Since Emma's birthday. When you sat us at the back table. When her other grandparents got to help with the cake, while we watched like strangers. You were 2 hours late. Jessica exploded. The party was almost over. And you've never once asked to help with anything. Because you never wanted us there, Dad said. We could see it. The way you look at us. Like we're not good enough. You never tried. I shouted. You never called to check on them, never asked about their lives, never dash. We're their grandparents. Mom screamed. We shouldn't have to beg. The detective interrupted. Mr. and Mrs. Hayward, you're under arrest for conspiracy to commit kidnapping, possession of illegal firearms, and possession of controlled substances without prescription. As they were led away, Mom turned back. We just wanted to love them. No, Jessica said quietly. You wanted to own them. The investigation revealed more horror. They'd been planning for months. Had fake passports for the kids with different names. Had slowly been transferring money to an untraceable account. The Florida condo didn't exist, but they'd rented a house in Mexico, paid cash for 6 months up front. They'd researched homeschooling laws in countries without extradition treaties. They'd Googled how to make children forget their parents. They were going to steal our babies. Jessica sobbed that night after the kids were asleep. They were going to disappear with them. The trial was brutal. My parents' lawyer tried to paint them as loving grandparents pushed to extremes by cruel children. But the evidence was overwhelming. The premeditation. The sedatives. The fake documents. Mom broke down on the stand. I just wanted to be their grandmother. Not the afterthought. Not the obligation. Their real grandmother. And you thought kidnapping them was the answer? The prosecutor asked. It wasn't kidnapping. It was rescue. From a son who forgot where he came from. Who chose his wife's family over his own. Dad was worse. Completely unrepentant. A man has a right to his legacy. Those children carry my name, my blood. I won't apologize for trying to claim what's mine. They were both sentenced to 15 years. Eligible for parole in 7 with good behavior. The hardest part was explaining to the kids. Emma understood more than we thought. Grandma and Grandpa were going to take us away? They were confused, I said carefully. They made bad choices because they were sad. But they would have brought us back, right? Luke asked. Jessica and I exchanged glances. The Mexico house rental had been for 6 months. The money they'd saved would have lasted years. The research on their computer about starting over with new identities suggested they never planned to bring our children home. We don't know, sweetheart, Jessica said. But you're safe now. That's what matters. The twins bounced back quickly, the way 5-year-olds do. Emma struggled more. Had nightmares about being taken away. Started checking that our doors were locked. Why didn't they just ask to spend more time with us? She whispered one night. I don't know, baby. Sometimes adults make things complicated when they could be simple. My brother called after the sentencing. We hadn't spoken in years. He'd moved across the country partly to escape our parents' suffocating expectations. I'm sorry, he said. But I'm not surprised. Remember when we were kids? The way Mom would say we belonged to her? The way Dad called us his possessions. I did remember, suddenly. Little things I'd normalized. The fury when I'd chosen a college too far away. The rage when I'd married Jessica instead of the girl they'd picked. The way they'd said my children were their second chance. Thank God Jessica found that bag, my brother said. Thank God indeed. 20 more minutes, and they would have been gone. My parents would have drugged my children and vanished into the night. The fake passport said Emma was now Catherine, Luke was Michael, and Mason was David. New names for their new lives as possessions of grandparents who loved the idea of them more than the reality. It's been 2 years now. The kids are thriving. Emma's in therapy but doing well. The twins barely remember that night. Jessica's parents moved closer, filling the grandparent void with actual love instead of obsession. Sometimes I get letters from prison. I don't open them anymore. The first few were pages of blame and twisted justification. We could have given them everything. You stole our second chance. A real son would understand. But I am a real son. One who chose to protect his children from the people who created him. One who recognized that DNA doesn't equal ownership. One who understood that love isn't about possession, it's about presence. My parents had 12 years to be grandparents. 12 years of birthdays and holidays and random Tuesday afternoons. They chose absence and resentment instead. Then they chose crime. The overnight bag sits in evidence lockup somewhere. 3 child-sized suitcases that never got used. Sedatives that never touched my children's bloodstream. A gun that was never fired. Proof that the people who are supposed to protect you can become the danger you need protection from. Sometimes I wonder what would have happened if Jessica hadn't reached for that bag. If she'd been less helpful, less observant. Would we have come home to an empty house and a note? Would we have spent years searching for our children while my parents played out their twisted fantasy of do-over parenting? I'll never know. Because my wife saw danger where I saw inconvenience. She screamed when I might have shrugged. She saved our children from grandparents who confused love with ownership, who believed that disappointment justified a federal crime. The kids don't ask about them anymore. We've filled their lives with people who love them properly. Aunts, uncles, friends who've become family. People who understand that children aren't possessions to be stolen, but gifts to be cherished. My parents offered to babysit for our anniversary. What they really offered was a nightmare dressed up as help. But they underestimated us. Underestimated Jessica's instincts. Underestimated how fiercely we'd protect our children from anyone who tried to harm them. Even especially from the people who should have protected me the same way. Did I go too far, testifying against my own parents? Some extended family thinks so. They send Christmas cards addressed only to the children, as if Jessica and I don't exist. They whisper about forgiveness and second chances. But I've seen what their second chance looked like. It came with rope and drugs and plane tickets to a country where my children would have become prisoners of grandparents who'd already proven they'd choose their wants over our children's needs. So no, I didn't go too far. I didn't go far enough for years, ignoring red flags and making excuses. It took a duffel bag full of kidnapping supplies to finally see my parents clearly, not as flawed but loving family, but as dangers to be protected against. Our anniversary dinner never happened that night. Instead, we ordered pizza and held our children close, grateful for Jessica's quick thinking and the police response that kept our family whole. Now we celebrate our anniversary differently. Not with fancy dinners or date nights, but with a family day. All 5 of us together, safe and whole, and aware of how quickly that could have changed. How a moment of trust in the wrong people could have shattered everything. My parents are eligible for parole in 5 more years. They'll be in their 70s, possibly harmless. Possibly not. It doesn't matter. They'll never see my children again. Never have the chance to finish what they started that night. Because that's what parents do. We protect our children. Even from grandparents who forget that love means letting go, not holding captive. Especially from those who would drug children into compliance and call it care. Always from anyone who thinks DNA is a deed of ownership instead of a bond of trust. Trust they broke the moment they zipped up that bag.